can Congress do? What can lawmakers do amid the crisis in Ukraine? Joining us now to discuss is California Congressman John Garamendi. He's also chairman of the Armed Services Subcommittee. Congressman, thanks so much for making time for us. Before we dig into the sanctions that President Biden announced yesterday, I want to talk about an idea you have that I haven't really heard other people talk about. You say you would like to see Congress move to eliminate Russia's ability from operating on the crypto markets. Why do you believe that would be effective in harming Russia?
For a couple of reasons. First of all, the sanctions that are going into place are principally at this time sanctions against the banks, major Russian banks, cutting off their access to the markets and the interaction that banks normally do across the board. There's also the probability before too long that the SWIFT program will also be denied to Russia. That then puts Russia in a situation where they may have to find a new way to carry out their nefarious programs, whatever that might be, or to engage in international trade to circumvent the sanctions. That opens a possibility of the crypto market being used by Russia in order to conduct trade, to get the various parts and pieces for their military and other programs that they want to use that they would otherwise use the international markets, financial markets for. The problem, should they go that direction, and perhaps they're already there in that direction, is we simply don't know. The crypto market is opaque. There's no way to, at the present time, to determine who's dealing with it. We do know that it is largely, or we do know that bad actors of all kinds, countries, various narco gangs and the like, all use the crypto market to avoid detection in the normal banking system. So that's why I'm saying we cut Russia off from the normal banking system, even from the SWIFT program. Then where do they go to conduct their activities? Well, quite possibly to the crypto market.
All right, sir. And I want to ask you, listen to this quote. Senator John McCain once said, Russia is a gas station masquerading as a country. So certainly it's lined its coffers from its energy and its oil, right? And that is what in part has paid for this assault on Ukraine. So why not cripple them by cutting off, by sanctioning their energy and oil? Because that would hit the Kremlin right where it hurts.
It certainly would. It would also hit the rest of the world right where it hurts. Particularly Europe, our NATO partners, the EU systems, they would be whacked immediately if the gas supplies were cut off. A little less immediate, but certainly the price of oil would surge across the world. Here's where I think this is going to go. I believe that we have been the United States for the last 4 or 5 months, has been looking at how can we stabilize the oil and gas market if we are to deny Russia the opportunity to sell that gas and oil on the international market and into Europe. The answer is we have to backfill. We will have to increase the supply of oil from other oil supplying places of the world, including the United States, and we would have to find a way to bring gas into Europe through the liquefied natural gas mechanisms. Some of that is already happening. I've been saying for more than almost a decade now that we need to move Europe away from Russian gas by building liquefied natural gas facilities. These are the ports in Europe. Not much of that has been done. Right now, I would suggest that we take a look at the infrastructure for the Nord Stream gas line that is not going to be used anytime soon, and in my view, never used. There is an intake facility in Germany. Could that be repurposed for LNG? Possibly. We should be taking a look at that. We should also recognize that that facility is owned by Russia, Gazprom. That would be one of the things that we ought to hit Russia on, and that is to confiscate that facility and turn it into an LNG facility so that the distribution network is already set up within Germany. So it seems to me an opportunity that we should take.
Congressman, some lawmakers, within Congress have been critical of President Biden's response and were critical of the package of sanctions that he announced yesterday, saying that they want to see more severe sanctions taken against Russia now. I guess the question is, what is President Biden waiting for to ratchet things up?
Well, let's take a look at the ratchet has been significantly up already. You take a look at what has been done. Those are very, very significant issues. I can assure you that the Republicans would find problems in anything that Biden would do. However, the only other places to go are three. First of all, one we've talked about, which is the SWIFT system, and we've talked about that, why that may not be such a great idea. Secondly, the oil and gas, which we just talked about. I would expect that there will be limitations on that in the next tranche of sanctions. And the other is Putin himself. I've said for a long time, we ought to go after Putin himself. We know that he has squirreled away money somewhere around the world. He has probably been very busy in his isolation, which has occurred over the last 2 years as a result of COVID and perhaps just general paranoia that he has, he may very well have turned that into cryptocurrency or into gold bullion hidden away somewhere. But nonetheless, we ought to go after him. So I would say that there will be additional sanctions coming down. Those need to be worked out in unison with our partners. The current sanctions that are in place have been worked out with partners around the world, from Japan and Australia all the way into the European Union and beyond. So you can go very fast if you go alone. But if you want to go far, you have to go with others.
All right, Congressman, thank you for that. Need a response from you in 30 seconds, if you could. What do you think about the nomination of Ketanji Brown for the Supreme Court seat that is open? And then also you talk about pain, trying to reduce that for Americans. Only a few seconds left. There is an economic disparity meeting coming up next week that focuses on housing, making it more affordable. Just a few seconds left, sir.
The appointment, excellent. Couldn't find a better person to sit on that, to replace that seat. Secondly, with regard to the housing, I've actually introduced some significant legislation to move the housing program forward. Absolutely essential. We've got to have the discussion. We've got to get the legislation in place. And the role of the federal government is going to be critically important here.
All right. Well, Congressman, we thank you for staying within the time limit. John Garamendi of California, thanks so much. We appreciate your time.